Okay. All right. All right. So first the correction. Everyone can see the screen?
Yep.
All right, all praises. So, last week I spoke about the Sabbath day's journey, right? Um, and the reason I spoke about the Sabbath day's journey is because remember, Brother Chaazawan was saying in the video that, by the way, let me pull up the video. Yeah, Brother Chaazawan was saying in the video that the Israelites, we know that the 22nd of the month is not the Shabbat because, the Israelites, basically, I think he was saying they arrived on the 21st. One second. Yeah, so he was saying they arrived on the 22nd, of a 3-day, from a 3-day journey, and and set up camp, right? So that shows that, it could not have been, the Shabbat because, Yahawah would not allow them to set up their tents, on the 22nd if it was a Shabbat. Um, I critique that by saying, hey, listen, if we left on the 20th at even, um, then how many, when did we really arrive, right? And then I spoke about how we would have traveled, the 21st to the 22nd. To make it simple, say we left the 20th at even, okay? Then 20th at even to 21st at even would be 1 day. 21st at even to 22nd at even would be 2 days. 22nd at even to 23rd at even would be 3 days journey. And that's when we would have arrived, right? Notice we would have traveled on the 22nd. So I said last week, you are allowed to travel on the Shabbat. That's just called a Sabbath day's journey. Okay. I went and I looked into it even further. Yes, indeed, there is a Sabbath day's journey. The heathens say it's 1.2 kilometers in length. But in fact, we have precepts showing a Sabbath day's journey of at least an hour and 45 minutes or, over 30 kilometers, right? Uh, so that would show that if the Israelites did indeed travel on the 22nd and the 22nd was a Shabbat, they would have only traveled for about an hour and 45 minutes. Therefore, the journey wouldn't be called a 3-day journey, right? They were, because they wouldn't have been traveling um, for that day on the 22nd. Okay. So I just wanted to make that clear, that the Sabbath day's journey is not it is short. And so it wouldn't have counted as a full day of travel. And we know there's 12 hours in a day. I'm about to break all this down, but I'm giving you guys the summary first before I break it down. Okay. So so that's one thing. Even if we go and we say, okay, well, they didn't travel on the 20th at even, instead they started on the 29th at even, the 19th at even, because we know the 19th at even is the 20th, all right? And we know that, I believe it's from the book of Leviticus. I'm pretty sure we're gonna pull up the verse if we haven't. Let me see if I can just pull it up right now, actually. Um, Watch this. For some of you who already know this stuff, please bear with me. And I mean, if you don't have these scriptures in your notes, um, use this opportunity to put it in your notes. Leviticus 23:32. It says, Saba, can you read that for me, please?
Mm-mm. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls. In the 9th day of the month at even, from even to unto even, shall ye celebrate your Sabbath.
Right. So the Most High is telling them when to celebrate I believe it's Day of Atonement here. Okay. Now he says started on the ninth day at even. So watch this. Sorry, he said yeah, the ninth day of the month at even to celebrate the atonement. But when you go up to 27 and read 26 and 27, what does it say, Psalms?
Also on the 10th day of this 7th month,
26 and 27.
oh, and Yahawah spake unto Moses, saying, Also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement.
Hmm.
It shall be an holy convocation unto you,
Hmm.
and ye shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahawah.
Right. So it says, which day was is the Day of Atonement?
The 10th day of the 7th month.
The 10th day of the seventh month. But when you go down to 32 and he tells them how to keep it, what does he say in 32? In the ninth day of the month at even, you ought to celebrate it. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest. You shall afflict your souls. It's the same feast, the Day of Atonement. That's the only day where you afflict your soul. Every other feast day and Sabbath is a joyful time, except this one. He said, in the ninth day of the month at even. But in 27, he called it the 10th day. So when does the 10th day start? Well, we know it starts on the ninth day at even. Even unto even shall you celebrate your Sabbath. That's backed up by Genesis, which says the evening and the morning were the first day. Okay. Um, so that being said, that being said, let's hypothetically say they left on the 19th. So 19th at even to 20th at even, 1 day, 20th at even to 21st at even, 2 days, 21st at even to 22nd at even would be 3 days. Okay. So that 3 days journey. So what do you call it? All that to say, uh, you know, the brother would be right, right? Because you can't travel that a great distance on the Shabbat. You understand? That's the evidence that we see within the scriptures. There's something called a Sabbath day's journey. And from what I've seen in the scriptures, it's only about an hour and 45 minutes. That's what I've seen. Now, there may be other scriptures which show it to be longer, but uh, Israelite would have to show it to me because what I've seen from the scholars is they say it's 1.2 kilometers, which is nowhere near the truth. The scriptures actually show that it can be up to an hour and 45 minutes on a donkey, man. Yeah, yeah, which works out to be something like 50 something kilometers or between 50 something and 30 kilometers, you know. So we'll go through that real quick, just to make that correction, and then we'll continue breaking down Brother Chaazawan's video. So, says here the Sabbath day journey was a short one, so the 22nd could not have been um, a Sabbath, uh, as I suggested in part one. Uh, doesn't change the fact Israel's journey ended on the 22nd at even. Fine. Sabbath day's journey calculation. This is the important thing here. So let's go to Second Kings chapter 4 and verse 8. Sabbath day calculation, Sabbath day's journey calculation. So this is just a correction from last week. Second Kings 4:8. KK, can you read this, please? KK, are you able to read this here?
Yes,
Okay.
and it fell on a day that Elijah passed to Shunem, where was a great woman, and she was constrained him to eat bread.
Right. So she constrained him to eat bread, meaning when he passed by this area, Shunem, there was a mighty woman there, meaning she would have been rich and famous in Israel, okay? Well known, rich, righteous. She was doing pretty well for herself, right? Mighty woman, okay? And when she saw Elisha passing by, she said to him, "Yo, you have to come eat with us," right? Constrained him, meaning even if he wanted to not come and eat at the woman's house, she wasn't having it, right? She's like, "No, you have to come." So he went and he ate, right? So go ahead.
And so it was that as oft as he passed by, he turned into thither to eat bread.
Right. So after she constrained him to eat bread, every time he passed by this woman's house in Shunem, by the way, she was married, um, he went there to eat food, right? And if you know anything about our ancient culture, listen, man, like it was normal for people to it was expected for you to put up your brothers and sisters in lodging, man. If they're going from place to place, it's not supposed to be a thing, right? Like you're not supposed to charge them either. You're supposed to put them up, give them somewhere to stay, and feed them. Any of your brothers and sisters traveling, you see them, hey, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to such and such a place. It's a 3-day journey, for example. Well, brother, nighttime's coming. Yeah, are you gonna be traveling in the night? No. Okay, well, brother, come stay with me, man. Sister, come stay with me, right? You know, I only have a little bit of lamb and some bread, but don't worry, you're good. That's what we did, right? So this woman was that's what was mandated for us to do, you know. And so, this woman is doing that with Elisha, right? A great prophet, man, and a miracle worker, right? One second, you know. So she's doing that with the brother, and so now he starts passing her for food, all the time, right? So what happens after that? Let's go down. I just want to jump down. You guys can read the account yourself, okay? I just want to get to the point. Read from 23 to wait. Mm, yeah, go give me 23 to 25. So sorry. So what happens is the woman ends up telling her husband, "Listen, Elisha is passing here all the time. So let's build him a room. Um, let's put a chair in it, and let's make sure the man's comfortable anytime he passes by. So the husband agrees and they go ahead and do that. And and she ends up having a son. Well, Elisha is so grateful, he ends up saying, what can we do for this woman? He's talking to his servant. He asks his servant, what can we do for this woman, man? And his servant says, I notice she doesn't have any children and her husband's old. So then Elisha says, about this time next year, you're gonna have a youth. And she said, don't lie to me, man of God. He says, you're gonna have a youth. So she ends up having the kid, and then the child dies, man, right? And so she she goes and pursues Elisha, right? To confront him and say, basically, how come my child's dead? You told me I was gonna have a child, and now the child's dead. Like, what's going on? And so this is where we pick up. Go ahead. Go from 20, 20 to
Okay.
25, KK.
And when he had taken him and brought him to his mother, he sat on her knees till noon, and then died.
Go ahead.
And she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, and shut the door upon him, and went out. And
Go
she
ahead.
called unto her husband, and said, Send me, I pray thee, one of the young men, and one of the asses, that I may run to the man of God, and come again.
Right.
And he said, Wherefore wilt thou go to him today? Is it neither new moon nor Sabbath? And he said, It shall be well.
Right. So the husband said, why are you going to him today? It's not the new moon and it's not the Sabbath. Why are you going to him today? Why are you going to this man of God today? Right. Then she said, don't worry about it. Everything will be good. Right. Go ahead.
Then he saddled an ass and said to her servant, Drive and go forward. Slack not thy riding for me, except I bide thee. So she
I
went.
bid thee, except I bid thee. Okay. So she said, listen, ride, man. Ride hard. Don't slack. Okay. Don't worry about me. Ride hard. Okay, until I tell you, okay, I can't take it no more. You're riding, you're going too fast, right? Because she wanted to meet up with Elisha. All right, go ahead.
So she went and came unto the man of God to Mount Carmel. And it came
Carmel.
Carmel, and it came to pass when the man of God saw her afar off, that he said to
Gehazi.
Gehazi his servant, Behold, yonder is that Shumanite.
Yeah. So when the servant saw the woman, he said, behold, here's the Shunammite. Okay, over there is that Shunammite woman. Why did I read this scripture? Why did I bring out this scripture? There's a couple important things going on here that gives us insight into a Sabbath day's journey. Okay? That's what we're trying to figure out. One, in 23, the husband says, why are you going out to Elisha? It's not the new moon and it's not the Sabbath. So what does that tell us? What does that tell us about when people would go see a prophet like Elisha, for example. Brothers?
The new moon and on Shabbath.
Right. I wanted to hear the bros, Sister Rachel, but thank you. Right? Sister Rachel got it. They would go on the new moon and they would go on the Sabbath. So, this woman being great, mighty, righteous, memorialized within the scriptures, um, for the good that she did for Elisha, she would have not broken the Shabbat by going and following uh, Elisha a distance that was unlawful, right? Would that be fair to say, family? As a righteous ancient woman growing up amongst Israel, would it be fair to say that she wouldn't want to break the Shabbat going to see uh, Elisha? Would that be fair to say?
No.
Why you say no? What do you mean?
Repeat the question, please.
Do you think she would want to properly keep the Sabbath and new moon by not traveling too far?
Yes.
Yes, she would want to keep the Sabbath and the new moon by not traveling too far. The husband said, "It's not the Sabbath and it's not the new moon. Why are you going to see him?" So would it have been lawful for her to go to Mount Carmel, where the brother was in verse 25, on the Sabbath or the new moon from Shunem, family? Would it have been lawful for her to go that distance? If her husband is saying, "Hey, it's not the Sabbath, it's not the new moon, why are you going today?"
No.
That's incorrect. But why do you say no?
What I meant to say was yes.
Explain.
What? Well, like, hmm, I don't know how exactly to explain it.
All right. Brothers, would it have been okay if it were a Shabbat for this woman to go and see Elisha on Mount Carmel from where she was, based on what we've read in the scriptures? Because he directly asked her.
No, no, she's not supposed to on the Sabbath.
No, she would have. It would have been. Well, why do you say that? First of all,
Well, I'm going off the distance. Well, can you repeat it again? I'm sorry.
it's fine. So I'm saying the husband said to her, "It's not the Sabbath or the new moon. Why are you going to see Elisha?" And Elisha is at Mount Carmel. So does that mean on the new moon and the Sabbath she would be able to go see him from where she was?
Then yes,
Yeah. Because the husband's saying, "Why are you going today? It's not the new moon, it's not the Sabbath." He's not saying, "Why are you going that distance?" You understand what I'm saying? It's too far.
right. That's where I misunderstood. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. My explanations is sometimes a bit long-winded and confusing, right? So yeah, it would have, what do you call it? It would have been fine for her to go that distance. And the reason I ask that is because when we now go and we look at what the distance was, we see that it's much further than the so-called scholars say. They say 1.2 kilometers, but the distance was much further than that, right? So we'll look at these two receipts real quick. And again, I'm just trying to clarify a Sabbath day's journey. Sabbath day's journey is shorter. So the brother Chaazawan was right in that if it was the Shabbat any of those days, indeed, the people wouldn't have been traveling, basically doing a 3-day journey during that time period. Okay, the Most High wouldn't cause them to sin against him by doing that. So anyway, let's break down this distance. The distance between Carmel, which is where the brother Elisha was, Mount Carmel, right? And Shunem, where the lady lived. In verse 8 here. Okay, Shunem. All right, that's why she was called a Shunammite. So watch this. So we got the speed of the donkey on this easy A to Z animals.com. They tell you a donkey goes at about 15 miles an hour, okay, which is about 24 kilometers an hour. All right, about 24 kilometers an hour. That's the speed, the average speed of a donkey. All right, speed 15 miles per hour, about 24.1 kilometers. Then when we look at the Shunem, I misspelled that, sorry, but it's still the right it's still the right place. Okay. Shunem to Mount Carmel. The place is today called Shulam, okay? Although it's known historically as Shunam. This is a bad map. So this is the place, Shulam, which you can see Sea of Galilee. It's southwest of the Sea of Galilee. This is Shulam to Mount Carmel. On the roads today, it's 52.6 kilometers. All right. All right. So we're working out the approximate time that it would have taken this lady. Um, let's get another distance. Some people say 30 kilometers. This is the Sea of Galilee again. Let me zoom in a bit. Getting attacked by ads, man. Yeah, so this is the same place, Shunam, okay? This is Mount Carmel. This is the Sea of Galilee, southwest of the Sea of Galilee. Okay, Shunam. All right, so again, these are approximate locations, all right? Um, and this is from BibleStudyTools.com. So I just want to show you guys that it's in that area, okay? And this is Mount Carmel at the little tip of Israel, and this is the Mediterranean Sea, this big blue place here, as it says here. So again, about 52.6 kilometers. All right. So when we do the calculation, okay, first we acknowledge one of the witnesses say it's 52.6 kilometers. The other one says 30 kilometers if you measure in a straight line. If you measure in a straight line. What's this thing here? What? I linked right to the word. Sorry, the picture. Let me just pull it up again. Distance from Shunem to Mount Carmel. There it is. Okay. So, uh, Mount Carmel, where the Shunammite woman met Elisha, is 8.5 miles, about 30 kilometers to the northwest. Northwest of what? Israel. Okay. Um, let's see here. See? Northwest of Judah, okay, in northern Israel. All right. So let's see here. As stated above, Mount Carmel is 18.5 miles, 30 kilometers away in a straight line. Okay. So this is why I said these are average distances. If you check in a straight line, it's about 30 kilometers away. Okay. So I basically just averaged the two distances from the two witnesses. One says 30, the other says 52.6. So I said, okay, well, about how much is that if you average out the two? It's 41.3 kilometers, right? If we divide that by the donkey's speed, which is 24.1 kilometers an hour, assuming the donkey was even traveling at that top speed the whole time, right? Again, we're averaging out, right? Getting an approximation. It shows that a Sabbath day journey could be as long as an hour and 43 minutes, man. And that's with these this is a high ball speed. So it could have been even longer, right? Because I mean, was she going 24.1 kilometers an hour the whole time? Probably not, man. Maybe, they dropped to 12 when they gotta take a corner, or 5 and then pick back up, but they were riding hard regardless. We know that from the scripture. So we know, I mean, at the very least, the Sabbath day's journey is 40, well, at the very least, it's 30. At the very least, it's 30, right? At the top, it's 52.6 kilometers an hour. Sorry, kilometers long, not the 1.2 that the so-called scholars say, right? So this is why it's so important to go in and break down the scriptures, because you'll just get different answers than many times you'll get different answers than what these people are saying. As the Most High says, a wise man looketh well to his going, but the fool believeth every word. And in another place in the New Testament, he tells you the Bereans were of more noble character than the Thessalonians, because they didn't just believe, and I'm paraphrasing, right? They didn't just believe everything the priest said. They went back and looked it up for themselves, right? And if Sister Rachel had not done that, I'd still be keeping the a lunar Shabbat today, right? So all praise to the Most High for putting on her spirit to be diligent, man, in the Word, and going to check to see if what I'm saying is true or not, right? Because look, she helped me, right? And all you guys who are listening right now, and who's gonna see this video in the future, right? So that's that Sabbath day's journey correction. Is that pretty clear with everybody? Are you guys clear that the Sabbath journey definitely was shorter than um a full day's journey, meaning 12 hours, but certainly longer than the 1.2 that was proposed by the scholars? Is that pretty clear to everyone?
Yeah.
All right, all praises. Okay, so we're gonna continue with the Chaazawan video. He's gonna say a couple of a couple of other things that's kind of left, but we'll break it down. We'll critique it, and then and we'll keep it pushing. See where I'm at in this here.
Genesis chapter 1, verses 16 and 19 tell us that the moon was made on the fourth day. Look at this diagram of creation week. The moon did not exist during the first 3 days of creation. So here's the question. Did the Most High count those 3 days as days? Yes. So that takes us back to the transitional day problem. Why do lunar Sabbath keepers say that you can't count the days when the moon is in transition, yet we see that the Most High counted 3 full days before the moon even existed?
And for the people that are watching this as their first video, we already showed that the lunar Shabbat keepers, at least today, well, at least what we were doing, and the people that understand the keeping of the new moon a little by the lunar a bit better, I would say, don't use transitional days at all. Okay, there's a new moon Sabbath at the beginning of the month, followed by 6 work days and a Sabbath. That happens, I believe, 3 or 4 times. And then there's 2 days, and then the month starts again, and that's the loop that goes. So we already spoke about that last service, but for those that are new, I just wanted to make that clear. So he's going off of the new moon keepers at the time that he knew, right? And this video is 8 years old. Okay, so this is sort of the understanding that he had of the new moon. So he's critiquing that, right?
So the transitional day theory doesn't make any biblical sense. Every day is a day, whether the moon is illuminated or not. The Most High made the moon on day 4, but he waited until 3 days later on day 7 to call that day holy. He sanctified day 7, not day 4, and not day 8, day 7. Now, some people argue against this point by saying that the days of creation were not literal days of 24 hours. Therefore, we can't say that he made the moon on day 4. They believe that each day of creation was 1,000 years long based on what Peter said. However, that is not true. Let's go to 2 Peter 3 and 8 to get the proper understanding. It says, "But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing." Here it is. "That one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day." So this is the verse that a lot of people use to say that the days of creation was 1,000 years long each. However, that is not what this verse is saying. Notice it says that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, not that it is 1,000 years. When Peter said this, he was quoting from the book of Psalms. Let's go to the original quote to see what this is actually talking about. This is Psalms chapter 90, verse 4. It says, "For 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday when it is past, and as a watch in the night." This is the verse that Peter was quoting from. Notice that it says, 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday. In other words, from the Most High's perspective, from his viewpoint, 1,000 years on earth is like one day. Why? Because the Most High is outside of our time. He sees everything all at once. So 1,000 years of our time, from his perspective, is as one day, not that it is one day. Let me give you an example. When we look at this diagram of creation week on the screen, we're able to see all 7 days at one time. Why? Because we're outside of the screen looking at the whole layout. Well, this is the same perspective that the Most High has when he looks at time. Why? Because he is outside of time looking at the whole layout of time. So from his perspective, 1,000 years is as one day. That's what Peter's talking about. So this verse has nothing to do with the days of creation. Those days of creation was 6 literal earthly days. And then he rested on day 7. So again, the moon was made on day 4, but the Sabbath day came 3 days later on day 7, which proves that the Sabbath day is not based on the moon. Now let's move on to another point. Remember, the lunar Sabbath doctrine says that the new moon days are not regular days, even though we already saw that they are. However, let's look at the verses that they use to make this claim.
Okay, so the brother said new moon days are regular days. Okay, so he's he's saying brothers argue that new moon days are not regular days, but new moon days are regular days is what he's saying. So I'm gonna let him say his piece, and then I'm gonna critique that piece by showing you that new moon days are indeed not regular days. Okay, they are not regular days. All right, and that's clear within the scriptures. He might use some of the same scriptures I'm using, but we'll go through it.
This is Ezekiel 46:1. It says, "Thus saith the Lord God, the gate of the inner court that looketh towards the east shall be shut the 6 working days. But on the Sabbath it shall be opened, and in the day of the new moon it shall be opened." So they say that 3 different types of days are mentioned in this verse: work days, Sabbath days, and new moon days. Since new moon day is listed separately from the work days and the Sabbath days, they say it has to be its own kind of day. The problem with that is there is no verse in the Bible that says that new moon day is counted separately from the rest of the week. People make that claim, but the Bible doesn't. All days.
So now he's talking about the counting of the day as opposed to the day being special. I'm not arguing the counting of the day. New moon is still counted as a regular day, but spiritually, new moon is a special day. All right. So let me see if there's a natural break in his a sort of point, and then I'll break down to you guys using the scriptures how the new moon is a special day spiritually. Right? I mean, he's already shown it by using Ezekiel 46:1. The Most High said, the east gate, which is the gate that's supposed to be open when Yahawah is worshipped, right? For the presence of Yahawah to come through, is supposed to be shut on the 6 working days. But the new moon, you must open it. And the Sabbath, you must open it as well. And I think he also said the feast days. You're also supposed to open that gate. Okay? If the new moon was not important to note, he would not say that gate has to be shut on those particular days, but you have to make sure you open it on the new moon, right? So again, he's saying that lunar Sabbath keepers believe the new moon is its own day that doesn't count as the day of the week. But it does count as the day of the week. It totally does, but it's a special day of the week, just like the Sabbath is a special day of the week. Okay.
Days fall on either one of the 6 working days or on the weekly Sabbath day. Now, if a feast day falls on a normal work day, the rules attached to that feast day override the rules of that work day because it's a special occasion. That's why the Most High tells us on specific feast days not to do any work. Why does he have to say that? Because those days are normally work days. But feast days are special to the Most High, so they override the rules of a normal work day.
Feast days are special to the Most High, just as he says. Just like the new moon is also special to the Most High, which is why he made it stand out by mentioning it along with the Shabbat and the feast days, right? He's not bringing out that point, but that's what's going on. And I'll show you, I'll prove it with the scriptures.
Now, let's read this verse again because there's another question that has to be addressed. It says, "Thus saith the Lord God," watch this, "the gate of the inner court that looketh towards the east shall be shut the 6 working days. But on the Sabbath it shall be opened, and in the day of the new moon it shall be opened." So a lot of brothers say this is impossible on a normal calendar, because if the new moon falls on a work day, how can you open the gate when it's supposed to be shut on working days? But
That's a non-issue with how we used to keep the lunar Shabbat. Um, it's just a non-issue. We don't argue that, oh, it's impossible because of the 6 working days, etc.
again, this is
So this is an old understanding again that he's critiquing of the lunar Shabbat.
easily explained. It's the same situation as the feast days. Let's look at a normal 7-day week.
And he's right, it's literally the same situation as the feast days, as I said earlier.
Now, the new moon is a special occasion that only happens once in a biblical month. So if the new moon happens to come in on one of the normal work days,
So he just said the new moon is a special occasion, right? But if I remember correctly, he also is gonna say that it's not. Well, let's see.
because it's a special occasion, you can open the gate, even though it's a normal work day. New moon day overrides the rules for a normal work day, just like the feast days do. Watch this. This is Leviticus 23 and 27. It says, "Also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement, and it shall be an holy convocation unto you. And ye shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahawah." Verse 28. "And ye shall do no work in that same day." Why? It says, "For it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before Yahawah your God." Now, why did the Most High have to tell us not to work on this day? Because it's a normal work day. But because he gave us the Day of Atonement to keep, the rules for a normal work day no longer apply. This is the same thing that's happening with the new moon day in Ezekiel 46 and 1. New moon day is not a special category day. It's listed separately because new moon day is an exception to the rule of the gate being closed. Just like the Day of Atonement or any other feast day overrides the rules for a normal work day. Now, before I continue, there's something that has to be explained. Many people.
Okay, so am I the only one that heard him say at the beginning of this point that the new moon is not a special day type, but then by the end he shows that it is? Am I the only one who saw that, or
No.
right? So he said 2 different things there, correct?
Yeah, it's contradicting.
Okay. Anybody else see that? Anyone else see that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna make it pretty. I'll make it clear. Yeah, because he seemed to be saying 2 different things, right? And again, this is based on the old understanding of the lunar Shabbat, with all these weird sort of rules and regulations, when the thing is very simple, right? And the keeping of the lunar Shabbat or the Shabbat based on the moon, you're gonna realize is valid for certain situations. Well, number one is valid because no one can judge how a man keeps his Shabbats. That's Colossians 2:16 and 17. But number two, I believe the Most High put this tool in there for if we encounter any situations where we don't have this Babylonian calendar to go off of, we can go off the moon, knowing that the new moon is the fourth day of creation, and then we can go from there and keep our Shabbats 3 days after, and then keep going, keep going, keep going, right? That being said, though, let me show you guys beyond the shadow of a doubt that the new moon is a special day, and indeed a feast day, um, just like the other days that it's put besides, just to kind of clarify all of that. All right. So again, let's go to Ezekiel 46:1, which he read. Let me get that, Sister Kira, if you're here. Is Sister Kira here and available to read? Sister Rachel, Sister Kira here?
No, she's not available right now.
No problem. So, Sabs, read this for me, please. Ezekiel 46 and verse 1.
Thus saith Yahawah, the gate of the inner court that looketh toward the east shall be shut the 6 working days, but on the Sabbath it shall be opened, and in the day of the new moon it shall be opened.
Right, so the Most High ensured that he said, listen, open this thing on the Sabbath and make sure you open this thing also upon the new moon, man. Open it on the new moon as well, right? Why is he giving importance to the new moon? Because the new moon is important, right? It's a feast day, just like the Sabbath is a feast day and our other feast days, right? Um, so the gate has to be open on the new moon, the Sabbaths, the new moon and the Sabbaths, according to this particular scripture. And we're going to see for the feast days as well. There's another occasion, Ezekiel 46 and 12, right? Where it can also be opened. Read this for me, please, Sabs.
Thou shalt daily prepare a burnt offering unto
12,
Yahawah.
12.
Now when the prince shall prepare a voluntary burnt offering or peace offering voluntarily unto Yahawah, one shall then open him the gate that looketh toward the east, and he shall prepare his burnt offering and his peace offerings, as he did on the Sabbath day.
As he did
Then
when?
on the Sabbath day.
Uh-huh.
Then he shall go forth, and after his going forth one shall shut the gate.
Right. So this is the other time that we see that that east gate is able to be open when the ruler of the people come to make a peace offering or free will offering before Yahweh. And you have to shut the gate immediately. On the Sabbath and the new moon, it has to stay open the whole day. Why? Well, the reason is because there's parity between the Sabbath and the new moon. That's why. The new moon is a special day to Yahweh, just like the Sabbath day is a special day to Yahweh. In fact, he often mentions the Sabbath and the new moon together, right? And let's prove that, right? It's not the same day. The Sabbath is the Sabbath, the new moon is the new moon, but many of the same ordinances that apply to the Sabbath also apply to the new moon, right? Let's go to Ezra chapter 3, and we'll read verse 5. The only activity anyway, I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that alone. Let's get that KK. Ezra chapter 3 verse 5.
And afterward, offering the continual burnt offering, both of the new moons and all of the set feasts of the Lord that were considerated,
Consecrated.
and of every one that willingly offered a free will offering unto Yahawah.
Right. So the people of Yahawah offered a continual burnt offering before Yahawah. Which burnt offerings? The new moon ones, the set feast ones, right? Um, and the free will offerings as well, right? Why are there new moon offerings? Why are there special new moon offerings? Because the new moon is a special day. So there has to be special offerings given on the new moon, right? He says, and of all the said feasts of Yahweh that were consecrated. So what did Ezra 3:5 consider the new moon? What did Ezra 3:5 consider the new moon according to this reading? Said both of the new moons and of all the set feasts of Yahweh that were consecrated.
A feast?
Yeah. It said the new moons and all the set feasts that Yahweh consecrated. So when I read this, I'm seeing the new moon is one of the set feasts that Yahweh consecrated. He's holding it in high regard, just like he held those set feasts from Leviticus 23. And we know Leviticus 23 doesn't have all the feasts in them. These are all the feasts that Yahweh set up in Leviticus 23 for the Israelites to keep, telling you about the three times a year that men have to come before him and so on and so forth. But we also still keep a bunch of other feasts other than that, you know, that were not mentioned in Leviticus 23. And the new moon is one of those, you know. Let's read Ezekiel 45. So when I read this, I see the Most High naming the new moon among the consecrated feasts. So let's read Ezekiel 45:17. Go ahead. Go ahead, Sava.
And it shall be the prince's part to give burnt offerings and meat offerings and drink offerings in the feast, and in the new and moons, and in the Sabbaths, and all solemnities of the house of Israel.
So
He shall
hold on, what is the new moon considered?
a solemnity.
The new moon. So the brother said, yeah, well, it's not a special day. That's what I heard at the beginning, and then at the end, he's like, well, it is a special day. Well, I'm just confirming that it is a special day. Because Yahawah considered the new moon a solemnity, one of the solemnities of the house of Israel. What do we do during the solemnities of the house of Israel? What's one of the major things that we always do during the solemnities of the house of Israel? If you guys don't know the answer, we're about to get into it in about 2 scripts. right? If anybody knows the answer, let me know. What's that just?
You have a service?
We have a service. We always have a service during the solemnities of the house of Israel. We always have a service during them. And then we'll read in Leviticus 23 where he tells you what you're supposed to do during those holy convocations, what's allowed and what isn't allowed, right? Because as we watch the video, the brother is gonna break down and say, well, um, basically that the people in Amos 8 and 5 were complaining about one particular feast day that is kept once a year. That's what they kept complaining about, which I'm not convinced of. I think they were complaining about a feast day that they had to keep often that was getting in the way of their business. And we'll read through that. But let me just get this first Ezra 552 first. It says here, one second. Read that for me, please, Sam. Um, go,
This'll,
hold on. 51 and 52.
all right, that'll be my last one for now.
All right.
Well, two last one, I mean. The 51 and 52?
Yeah.
Also, they held the Feast of Tabernacles, as it is commanded in the law, and offered sacrifices daily, as was meet. And after that, the continual oblations, and the sacrifice of the Sabbaths, and of the new moons, and of the holy feasts.
Okay, so they offered also the sacrifices of the Sabbaths, the sacrifices of the new moons, and of all holy feasts. Right? Is the Sabbath holy?
Yes.
Yes.
Are the feasts holy?
Yeah.
Is the new moon holy, family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why he put it in here. Are we holy people? Do we do holy things? Is our lifestyle holy? These things are holy. You understand? Just like the new moon is holy. That's why he keeps setting it apart and putting it right next to the most important one, the Sabbath. He puts it right next to it. And then he puts it right next to the other most important days, which are the holy feast days. It's there because it's holy as well. You know, that's what I see in the scriptures, man. We'll go back to this Ezekiel. It is a solemnity of the house of Israel. So, knowing that the new moon is a solemnity of the house of Israel, we can look at what is done upon solemnities of the house of Israel. Upon holy convocations, we can look and see what's done and what's not done. For example, we certainly see in Amos 8:5, there's no business allowed on that solemnity. You know? So guess what? We're not going to do any business. And if there's no business, then that means what do you call it? There's no servile work, man. Now you're in Babylon. Can you keep all the new moons? You certainly can. Because can't most of us, because you shall bear your iniquity. You're under a yoke still. So you do the best you can. But it is what it is. Let's go to Isaiah 66 and 23. Thanks, Sabs.
I just sent you a message. Yeah, you're welcome. See you later. Shalom.
All right, shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom, is that Kate?
Yeah.
Yeah, shalom, Kate.
Shalom.
Shalom, Kara, as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So let's get Isaiah 66 and 23. KK, let me hear that.
Where again?
Isaiah 66 and verse 23.
And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahawah.
Right. What the days that you come to worship before Yahawah are called what?
Mm,
Hmm?
The Sabbath?
Yes, the Sabbath, but we just been reading the various names that they're called. We just read in Ezekiel 45:17. What was it called in Ezekiel 45:17?
Solemnity.
That's right, it was called a solemnity. And then we look here in Isaiah 66:23. It tells you on the new moon and on the Sabbath, all flesh is coming to worship before Yahawah. What is that called? When people are coming to worship before Yahawah, that's a what?
A holy day.
A holy day, yes, you're right. Right? We looked at the word already. He just called the new moons, the Sabbaths, and the feast days. What? You just said it.
Service?
No, he called them solemnities. Do we go worship Yahweh on solemnities? New moons, Sabbaths, feast days. Do we go worship Yahweh? Do they always start and end with a worship day, with a worship service?
Yes.
Someone said yes?
Yes.
They certainly do. So when all flesh is coming to worship before Yahweh, what is that called? What do they call it today, basically? To make it sort of, I guess, easy to understand. When everybody go to worship the Most High, what do they call it?
Service?
Yeah, church service. The Most High called it solemnity. He said, and then we just read in Isaiah 66, 23, he says, on the new moons and the Sabbaths and the feasts, all flesh is going to come to what? Worship before him. What are the holy days for? What are the Sabbaths and the new moons for? They are for the worship of Yahawah. I hope you guys see that. That's literally what happens on those days. You purify yourself and you come worship before Yahawah. And he tell you the whole world's gonna have to do it. He said on the Sabbath, he said also on the new moons, family. So this is not a regular day. It's a solemnity. It's a holy day. Last, I got two more scripts on that. Watch this. Watch the um similarities between these solemnities, these services, these holy convocations, these days where we go to worship before Yahawah. Right? As I read here, it says, and Yahawah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, say unto them, concerning the feasts of Yahawah, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, meaning holy assemblies, even these are my feasts. First one he mentioned, and I'll tell you guys from now, the new moon is not mentioned here, but neither is the feast of dedication, neither is what do you call it? Hanukkah, right? What else? The day of Simon. None of those days are mentioned here. All right. Also, the day of Simon and the destruction of Nicanor, and these days, there is no ordinance in them uh, for holy convocation. At least not that I remember seeing. I haven't seen it for holy convocation on those days. But on the particular days when the Most High need a holy convocation, a solemn assembly, he puts it in the scriptures, and it's not always in one place. That's why you have to read precepts, right? Remember, we're not just keeping laws, we're keeping laws, statutes, and commandments. Laws found in Deuteronomy, statutes, and commandments found throughout the rest of the scriptures, man, and also in the first 5 books of Moses. So we have laws, statutes, and commandments, and all these things together make our culture. And the Most I tell you, keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. So if you say worship during service, you gotta worship. If we say don't buy and sell on my new moon, you don't buy and sell on his new moon, and so on and so forth. So he says, verse 2, you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. Then he says, 6 days work shall be done, the 7 days, the Sabbath of rest, and holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. So on the Sabbath, he said, zero work, no work. That's no servile work, that's no housework. Your servants can't do work. Nobody's supposed to be working on the Sabbath. It's supposed to be a rest day. No chores to be done on the Sabbath. It's a rest day. Do no work, he said, which is why the man died for gathering sticks. He wasn't working for nobody, but he was gathering sticks, man, and he died because there's no work supposed to be done on the Sabbath. Then he goes on to say in verse 4, these are the feasts of Yahawah, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their seasons. Fourth day of the first month at even, Passover. 15th day of the same month, Feast of Unleavened Bread. I want to keep highlighting the same thing, the convocation part. The first day ye shall have a holy convocation. In the holy convocation, no servile work. So a second ago, he said no work at all. This one, for unleavened bread, he said, don't go work for nobody. Why did he say no work at all for the Passover? Somebody. Why didn't the Most High say for the Passover you can't do any work? Why did he say that? Why did he not restrict you from doing say from doing all work on the Passover?
Why he
Why he allow you to do certain work on the Passover is an easy way to put it. Why did the Most High allow us to do certain work for Passover and unleavened bread? Anyone?
because it's not a Sabbath?
Was that?
Because it's not a Sabbath?
That's a good answer. Yes, yes, yes. That's definitely part of it. Yes, it's not a Sabbath. But what do we do during during Passover and unleavened bread? What do we have to do? The 15th day of the month at even, family. What do we have to do? 14th at even, sorry. Man, you guys supposed to know this. We have to kill the lamb. We gotta cook it, spice it up, right? We gotta cook the unleavened bread. Gotta get that bitter herbs going. Is that work? Is that work, family? Hmm? I think we know the answer. Is it servile work? Is it work for money? No, it's not. If he said no work at all, you couldn't prepare the Passover. You see? That's why I tell you, just don't work for nobody. Then he goes ahead and tells you about the Pentecost after that. Let me just skip down a bit. The priests shall wave them with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering before Yahawah. With two lambs they shall be holy to Yahawah for the priests. And you shall proclaim on the selfsame day that it may be a holy convocation to you. Look at this again. You shall do no servile work. So far, Passover, no work. Um, sorry, Sabbath, no work. Passover, no work for money. Um, first fruits, no work for money. Then we're gonna go on. Seventh, in the seventh month, verse 24, first day of the month, you shall have a Sabbath, blowing of trumpets. What? Holy convocation again. A solemnity. What's the other thing that's common? You can't go work for no money. So far on all the Most High holy days, You can't go work for money. Let's keep going. 10th day, 7th month, Day of Atonement, Holy Convocation, afflict your soul, offer an offering made by fire. No work at all. After atonement, I'm gonna keep going. Um, Tabernacle, 15th day, 7th month, Feast of Tabernacles. 15th day, 7th month, Feast of Tabernacles, Holy Convocation, Solemn Assembly. What? No work for money. Um, Watch this. 7 days, offer an offering made by fire to Yahawah. 8th day, another holy convocation, another solemn assembly. No work for money. And then he says, these are the feasts of Yahawah. Proclaim them to be solemn assemblies, holy convocations, offer an offering made by fire, so on and so forth. Okay? Um, my point here being, you can't work for money on the Most High holy convocations. You can't work for money on the Most High solemn assemblies. So when we read this now, which the brother is going to say, does not mean you can't work on the new moon. When you read this, well, you got to tell me what the hell's going on. Amos 8:5. Let's get that, please, KK.
She's unavailable.
All right. Any other brothers want to read? If any of you want to read, you guys can pull this up. Going once, going twice. All right, I'm gonna read it. It says, I'll go from 4. Hear this, O ye that swallow up the needy, even to make the poor of the land fail. So the Most High is dealing with the greedy Israelites. Take that in. This is written specifically to greedy Israelites. They say, it says, hear this, O ye that swallow up the needy, you greedy Israelites, even to make the poor of the land to fail, saying, when will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn? And the Sabbath, that we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small, the shekel great, and falsifying the balances by deceit. Reading that, we are not allowed upon the solemn assemblies of Yahawah to do servile work, family. Can you please tell me, in this verse, are these brothers, how do I even put this? Can you do servile work on the new moon? Seeing what we just seen and hearing what's going on here, can we do servile work on the new moon? Be honest. Either you see it You don't, you know? What do you think? These guys are saying we can't wait for the new moon to be gone to sell corn. And we can't wait for the Sabbath to be gone so that we can sell wheat. So would they normally be selling corn on the new moon and the Sabbath, family? Maybe that's a better question to ask.
No.
No, they wouldn't be normally doing business on the Shabbat or on the new moon. That's why they're saying, man, I can't wait for this to be done with so I can get back to being greedy, man. Selling these poor people this refuse, because when we read forth, that's what you see. They were selling, they're giving you a low weight and bad quality product because they're greedy. It wasn't normal for Israelites to go to work on the new moon, just like it wasn't normal to do it on the Shabbat, right? That's what's in the scriptures. Now, brother Chaazawan is going to say that or suggest that the new moon that's being spoken of in Amos 8:5 is the feast of I believe it's trumpets. Yeah, which is the only feast that happens on the new moon. So he's gonna say that's the new moon that these greedy Israelites were complaining about. What do you guys think of that? Do you think that the Israelites were complaining about one feast during the year? A greedy Israelite is complaining about one feast during the year where they can't sell? Do you guys think that's correct?
Probably not,
Why not?
because it would make sense for it to just apply to just one. It will be to every single instance that inconvenience them or stopping them from selling.
That makes sense to me because if I'm greedy and I just want money all the time, I'm gonna complain about the times I can't go get my money. We know the Sabbath, that's every week you can't go get no money. They complained about it here in verse 5. Then we know the new moon, you can't go get no money neither. They complained about that same thing in verse 5. So I don't believe for a second that it's them complaining about the trumpets only. And I'll show you guys the two scriptures that I believe show that it certainly wasn't just the trumpets that was being discussed. And then we'll wrap up there for today. And we'll continue next Shabbat. And it'll end up being a little bit of a shorter service, right? So let's see here. Let's just read from 1 to 5 in Amos 8, and then we'll read another scripture to show. So it says, thus hath Yahawah showed. Actually, let's go to the next scripture and then we'll come back here. Second Kings. Let's go here. 4. So we'll go from 8. 2 Kings 4, 8 to 23. All right, it says, and it fell on a day that Elisha passed to Shunem, where was a great woman, and she constrained him to eat bread. And so it was that as often as he passed by, he turned in thither to eat bread. And she said unto her husband, Behold, now I perceive that this is a holy man of Yahawah, which passeth by us continually. Let us make a little chamber, I pray thee, on the wall, and let us set for him there a bed and a table and a stool and a candlestick. And it shall be, when he cometh to us, that he shall turn in thither. And it fell on a day that he came thither, and turned into the chamber and lay there. And he said to Gehazi, his servant, Call this Shunammite. And when he had called her, she stood before him. And he said unto him, Say now unto her, Behold, thou hast been careful for us with all this care. What is to be done for thee? Wouldest thou be spoken of for the king or to the captain of the host? And she answered, I dwell among my own people. So again, just like I was telling you guys earlier, she did great kindness and set them up so that they had a place basically to lodge every time they came by that way, to stay anytime they came by that way. So, Elisha's like, what do you want us to do for you? We can talk to the king for you, okay? Or we could even talk to the general of the army for you. What do you want? The woman said, basically, I'm good. And he said, What then is to be done for her? And Gehazi answered, Verily she have no child, and her husband is old. So that's what the servant said. And he called her, and when he had called her, she stood in the door, and he said, About this season, according to the time of life, thou shalt embrace a son. And she said, Nay, my Lord, thou man of God, do not lie unto thy handmaid. Now notice this there. It says, Nay, my Lord. Lord here is the word Adonai, which means master. Just as a side point, there are some sisters that say if you're not their husband, you can't tell them nothing. You can't talk to them, right? You can't correct them, none of that. This is utter and complete folly. This is a married woman calling Elisha a prophet of the Most High, Lord, okay, which mean master, and there's a few other meanings. You can look into it yourself in the on Bible Hub in this very same scripture. So that's just a side point. Anyway, reading on, and the woman conceived and bare a son at that season that Elisha said unto her, according to the time of life. And when the child was grown, it fell on a day that he went out to his father to the reapers. And he said unto his father, My head, my head. And he said to a lad, Carry him to his mother. So the kid comes and is complaining his head is hurting him, right? So, the dad told a young man, Bring him to his mom. And when he had taken him and brought him to his mother, he sat on her knees till noon and then died. And she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of Yahawah and shut the door upon him and went out. And she called unto her husband and said, Send me, I pray thee, one of the young men and one of the asses, that I may run to the man of God and come again. And he said, Wherefore wilt thou go to him today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath. And she said, It shall be well. Why did I want to read this again? I wanted to read this again to stop here at the new moon and the Sabbath again being compared again. Elisha was a prophet. When would they go see the prophet? They would go see the prophet on the Sabbath, and they would go see the prophet on the new moon. Why are they going to see the prophet on the Sabbath? For a holy convocation, for them to learn the word of the Most High, for service and healing and all the other things they needed after service. Why they were going to go see him on new moon? For service and healing and all the other things that they need. The new moon and the Sabbath are similar. That was my point in that's my point in this scripture. And then when we go back to Amos and we read from the top, it gives us beyond the shadow of a doubt what the thing was talking about. We already got it from 5, but when I read from 1 to 5, it just becomes crystal clear to me. It says, "Thus hath Yahawah showed unto me, and behold, a basket of summer fruit." This is Amos 8 from 1. And he said, "Amos, what seest thou?" And I said, "A basket of summer fruit." Then said Yahawah unto me, "The end is come upon my people of Israel. I will not again pass by them anymore." So the Most High is about to judge Israel. "And the songs of the temple shall be howlings in that day, saith Yahawah Alahayim," which is God, the ruler, Alahayim, the ruler. "There shall be many dead bodies in every place. They shall cast them forth with silence." So much people gonna die. People not even gonna talk, just bodies after bodies, because they just coming. This is what's coming upon Israel, saith Yahawah. And then he says, "Hear this, O ye that swallow up the needy, even to make the poor of the land fail." So we know, again, he's about to rebuke some people. What kind of people? The ones that saying, when is the new moon gonna be gone for them to sell corn, and when the Sabbath gonna be done for them to sell wheat? And to give the people a small measure, to charge them big money, make the shekel great, the ephah small, which is the measure, small, the shekel, which is the money, great. So charge you bare money for a little bit of whatever you want, wheat and corn, and then falsify the balance, man, right? Also put false weights on the balance. They're asking when it's gonna be gone. Wicked men, greedy men, men who want to sell on the Shabbat and sell on the new moon. Men that want to do business in the solemnities of the Most High God. It says that we may buy the poor for silver. You see that? And the needy for a pair of shoes, yea, and sell the refuse of the wheat, man. It's not even the good stuff they were giving the people anyway, right? So that's all I got. I just wanted to show you guys that the new moon is indeed a solemnity of Yahawah. And, you know, um, servile work is not allowed upon the new moon, you know. Certainly buying and selling, if you want to get super technical, don't buy and sell on the Most High's new moon, you know. That's all I got. Any questions or comments before we wrap up in a word of prayer? Oh, and for the people online, thank you for watching. What do you call it? If you want to learn more about how to keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, subscribe to our channel. You Negroes, you're the biblical Israelites. You other nations, you must learn under the Israelites according to the Bible and not under religion, or you will perish. And for the so-called Edomites, or for the Edomites, who are the so-called Europeans, the Most High has reserved you to death and destruction at his hand, and you shall surely have it. Right? Amen.